Hey, well, welcome back to UFOs Above Us. All right, today is March 24th, and I thought today I'd do something a little different. I'm just going to show some pictures of various birds that I photographed from my home with my new Sony mirrorless camera. And all these birds have one thing in common, is they all have unusual white orbs on or around them. So this first one I did share with a fellow skywatcher named Cindy Luhu on her live stream. And there was a couple of trains of thought, actually three. Some thought that perhaps it was a broken wing. I zoomed in so we can see it there. See the spot right there? That's what we're talking about, that white spot on the wing. Some thought maybe it was a broken wing. Others thought perhaps it was a orb just close to the bird. And then a third group thought maybe it was a drone. And originally I thought it was a drone, but as I've been continuing to look at these pictures, I'm leaning more towards a white orb, and maybe those white orbs are interacting very, very closely with those birds. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in just so we can get a little closer peek at that. And you can clearly see that's unusual. I mean, it's circular and it's white. Now, of course, as I zoom way in, it pixelates, but you can see it there compared to the other wing. So it could be a drone, and maybe that's a camera. But it could also be that that's one of those white orbs like I've documented at this point probably hundreds of times. So that's the first one I wanted to share. I'm going to zoom back out so you can get one more look at it without it being pixelated. So you can definitely see that one. And you know, buzzards are something that I photograph a lot, so this next one will be the same thing. There's a buzzard, but in this case you can see the little white orb right there. And I'm not going to zoom this one in because I have a close-up of it. So let's jump to the next picture, and then we'll zoom that one in. And then as you look at that, you can see in relation to the buzzard, that little white orb. And as I zoom it in, you can see it's definitely a little white ball. Now once I zoom way in like this, it really starts pixelating. But, I mean, it's not an insect, it's not a small bird, it's not dust particle or anything that I've seen other people suggest. That's an orb, and we've seen a lot of those. So there's the second one I just wanted to share. And let's keep going because I have some more to look at here. Next we'll look at this one, and this one's really unusual. It almost made me think that the orb was trying to hide. If you look at this bird, first off, that bird looks kind of unusual. Let's go ahead and zoom that in a little more. First off, that bird looks unusual to me. This right here should be his feet, but when I zoom way in, those certainly don't look like ordinary birds' feet, do they? So I don't know what they are, but that looks really unusual. And then you can't help but notice the white ball right there. That shouldn't be there. That's not a tuft of fur or something. That's an orb right next to the raptor. It's either a red-tailed hawk or a falcon or something like that. It looks like probably a young red-tailed hawk in this case. So the legs, which are normally tucked in close to the body, those look really peculiar. And of course that, you can't help but say, that shouldn't be there at all. So what's it doing there? Why do orbs want to stay right next to these birds? And I really don't know the answer, but just a couple of theories is they use them to hide. And you know, without this very high resolution digital camera, I probably would not have noticed that. And second is, this is just a theory, if these orbs are really some kind of living entities, you don't suppose they may be next to these animals because they feed off them somehow. Maybe drawing energy from them or physically, extracting something from these animals. I don't know. I mean, these are all just theories, but it's certainly odd how many times I've documented it. Now let's look at these last two, and they're going to be fairly unusual as well. I'm going to show the original picture, and you might look at that picture and think, well, that's just a bird. That's nothing unusual. Well, let's just wait. I'm going to go ahead and jump to the close-up. So here's a blow-up of this picture. There's the original, and there's the blow-up. And then when we zoom in, there's some unusual features about that. So first unusual thing about it is, look at the wings. These wings don't look like an ordinary bird to me. I mean, it kind of reminds me of a wasp wing. And more importantly, look at these. What are these things? Well, those certainly don't look like feet. And they don't look like a bird's head either. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. The closest thing I can think of to it would be like a bat with two ears sticking up. But this is in broad daylight. There wouldn't be a bat flying around. And of course, bats in no way have wings shaped like that. The bat's wing would be distinct because it's kind of sectional, and I didn't pull one up to compare, but if you ever seen a bat, you know what I mean. But that's the closest thing I can think of to that, is a bat with ears. So isn't that odd? Middle of the day, and that's a really strange object. So let's keep looking at, I've got one more, and I always like to save the best for last. So let's take a look at this last object. Again, here's the original picture, and these are, so obviously these are way up in the sky. And when I first saw it, I just thought it was a standard raptor, you know, maybe a red-tailed hawk or something of that nature. But when I zoomed in on this, take a look at this one and tell me this isn't the most bizarre thing you ever saw. So here is the zoom in of that picture we saw before, and just look at that. What the heck is this? So I ask the audience, what do you think this is? That is very, very peculiar. Unlike any bird. I mean, it's not a bird. You've got the wings like a bird, but what is this half ball right here? It looks much more like a, you know, we have security cameras at the house, and they have these domes, smoked domes over them. That's what it reminds me of. So what the heck is this? And as I zoom in, it really is beyond understanding. I have no idea what that is. I mean, it's not a bird. It's not an insect. It's not a drone. It's something I've never seen before. So these are just some of the examples of what I'm documenting, and I want to kind of share those with the group and get some feedback. What do you think these things are? Especially this picture right here. What the heck is this thing with the half ball right there? Can you think of any logical explanation for what that might be? If you do, put it in the comments. And as always, I like to wrap up by saying, this is Matt at UFOs Above Us. Keep watching the skies. The answers we're all seeking really are up there.